Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Mentally Fit, and you are on with the Dark Prophet. So, today, the title of my conversation is Under Pressure. That's the title, Under Pressure. And I'm going to tell you a very short story that will illustrate what I'm going to talk about. You see, last month on Saturday, I went jogging. So, after jogging, I was returning home. So, on my way home, I was walking by an MFM center, an MFM church, right? So I was walking by just thinking of whatever I'm thinking about. Then I saw this young man. Like I said, it's a Sunday. He was on the phone, right? So he was talking to somebody. Then all of a sudden, the person was still talking to him. Then he said something in Yoruba like, "Oh, you have finished me." Kind of, "Oh man, this news you have just given me has finished me." So the guy is like, I'm telling you, this guy is like around me 40 years and he's like crying right there at the entrance. He's like crying. So like he puts his hand on the wall, like bends his head and is like crying. So as I'm walking by, I see him. So he's crying and I'm like looking at him like, wow, I wonder what's the message. Maybe somebody died or something. Then there were like three guys in front of him, you know, and they were just looking at him, you know. And then he cried, and then he went back into the church. So it was just something that happened like under his like less than 2 minutes. The whole thing happened. Then as I was walking away, I was asking myself, why didn't I ask this man or what's the problem? At least why didn't I just care about what he was going on? And I was like, well, I don't know him and stuff like that. Then I thought about the people that were outside the church, they saw the man crying, and we were looking at him like he was performing some strange acts that we didn't understand. He was crying, he was in tears, but just we didn't just even try to console him or anything, you know. So that whole thing got me thinking about a lot of things. So I decided to make this video, and that's what I'm going to talk about. You see, we as Africans, we have been taught that a man is not supposed to show emotions. A man is supposed to bottle his emotions, not be handle any problem he's going through. No matter what you're going through, handle it. Nobody wants to see you crying or complaining or being weak in public. You're supposed to handle your problems. We learned it from a very young age. And if your parents see you maybe being emotional or being overly dramatic or maybe crying, what are you doing? No, stop that rubbish. We don't, no, no, no. As a man, you don't like, they let you know that as a man, you don't do these things. And we have, it's a normal thing. In our society, we are much more comfortable talking about the challenges that women face, like domestic violence and maybe discrimination in the workplace and this all other forms of disenfranchisement women face. We are so much comfortable talking about that. And in the process, we don't talk about the challenges that men face. And even men don't talk about the challenges they face. We feel it's like, oh, our own personal problems and we are supposed to handle it. It's not something that is up for public discourse. So I disagree. I'm going to talk about it because I feel that right now we are in a place in our society, where a lot of men are cracking under the pressure. You know, the pressure is getting bad, and a lot of men are cracking under this pressure. So that's the reason why I want to talk about it. Because we're not supposed to express our emotions, a lot of men are developing mental health issues, things like depression, anxiety, OCD, suicidal tendencies, because they are dealing with things that is overwhelming them, and they are not supposed to say it out or express it. They're supposed to just keep it in, and they're supposed to handle it. And but the thing is, this challenge they're facing is causing a lot of them to crack under pressure. You know, it's like the economic challenges that young men are facing today, and the demands that is being placed on them, and the sometimes unrealistic standards that they are being forced or being pressured to conform to. You know, is causing a lot of them to crack. You know, as a young man in Africa, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Mozambique, you know, you are the responsibilities that's on you is like you are supposed to after you graduate from school, you are supposed to make money, get married, start raising kids, meet up with the responsibility of paying this, paying that, and there's nothing wrong with meeting those responsibilities. I feel they are very good responsibilities. But what happens when you are not in a society that makes it damn near impossible for you to meet those responsibilities? What happens when you're in a country like Nigeria where the price of foodstuffs in the market keep rising and then you have a family that you care for? What happens when you are a father and you have kids and the price of school fees keep rising to a point where you have to pull your kids out of school? What happens when you're a father in Africa when your house rent keeps rising and to a point that you have to actually consider moving back to the village because you cannot pay the house rent and you don't want your family to be out in the cold or in the hot in South Africa? What happens then? And what happens when you are in a society whereby people expect you to overcome anything that is all the challenges that is placed on you? They don't care how you do it, they just expect you to overcome. Since the school fees is 1 million, well, you are the man, handle it. And one problem I'm realizing, I'm beginning to see, especially from the men I treat, is even though we are a man in Africa is placed with a lot of responsibilities, a lot of them are not given or taught how to handle issues. They don't have problem solving skills. They don't have a lot of them. A good example is this. What I realize is that the way we handle issues is quite different. To one African man can be faced with a situation whereby his wife is very, very insultive and aggressive, and he may handle it and be like, okay, whatever, and just walk away. Another person may feel like he has to beat the woman to let her know that she is under him. Why another person may just completely be locked in the argument and keep arguing with the woman and keep arguing with the woman until something goes wrong. You know, that's where our problem really starts. We have challenges you're supposed to meet as a man, but a lot of the time, parents don't train their children or their kids how to handle those problems. And then what happens is that the child becomes an adult and then he handles problem the way he has learnt by default to handle problem. If his father used to beat his mom and violence was the way they solved issues, he goes into the relationship, his relationship, and violence can be a way to solve a problem. If his dad was one that dealt with issues by avoiding it, when he goes into his family, he deals with issues by avoiding it. What they just do, they just model what they see their dad doing. And parents don't teach their children how to solve problems, especially men. They just assume that somehow you are going to figure the whole thing out. One day, you're just going to have that aha moment and everything adds up and then you know everything. It doesn't work like that. You know, if you see people may argue that men are not cracking under pressure. They are. The suicide rates of young men like right now is alarming. I have several cases of it. The the amount of young men that are taking their lives over what? Over they cannot get a good job. They look at the sense of hopelessness. Oh, I'm getting only 20,000. Now I'm supposed to marry, I'm supposed to have kids, I'm supposed to. So they look at all these responsibilities they're supposed to fulfill, and they don't see themselves being able to achieve it. Then taking their life now looks like a safe option to avoid those challenges. Or they cannot meet the financial requirements of their family, and then being or taking their own life now becomes an issue that they begin to consider because they feel, oh, this is my way out. You know, Men are cracking because of the level of violence that men are perpetrating nowadays. This issue of Yahoo boys and battery that women face and child abuse and people that empower being corrupt, all these are signs that men are cracking under the pressure, that because of the responsibilities that is placed on them, men are being forced or they are being put in a situation whereby they make compromises that they wouldn't make if the pressure was not on them. This whole issue of corruption and theft and forgery, when you have You have to when you have to provide for your family and you don't have enough money and you can't get a job that pays you enough, then all of a sudden you start considering other vices like armed robbery, you start considering maybe even betting. You feel that, oh, maybe you can use betting to augment your income. Those silly ideas starts coming to you, and at the end of the day, one thing usually leads to another thing, leads to another. At the end of the day, you find yourself in a situation where you didn't even anticipate you will be. You know, the level of violence, if you look at it, men killing women, men killing other men, men fighting each other over maybe you hit my car and then all of a sudden I take out a knife, I stab you, and the level of violence is becoming alarming. And this is only because men are being put in situations that they can't handle. And we don't talk about it in our society. It's one of those things that we don't just talk about. We kind of just assume that, oh, it is a topic we don't talk about. But men are cracking under pressure. You know, why this thing is very dangerous and why we need to talk about it is that what happens to a man, affects his family. If you are a family man and you are going through depression and your family cannot understand it, that they're looking at dad and they think dad is just lazy and they can't understand it, that affects your wife. It affects your relationship with your wife. It affects your relationship with your kids. It affects your relationship with your extended family. It affects your relationship with people in the neighborhood. You see, so the effect is one of those ones that affects everybody, you know. And if you are a person that is going through depression, and you have a wife that is not caring, you have one of these modern day ladies that think the whole world revolves around her happiness, and they don't care about you, and you don't feel loved in your relationship, you don't feel catered to, some of these things, it worsens a man's condition. It's one thing to face challenges in the workplace, face challenges at home, but when you're now with somebody that doesn't even appreciate what you are doing, when you are with somebody that does not even care about you enough to prepare your food, does not even care about enough to call you in the afternoon and say, "Oh, honey, how are you doing?" Someone that doesn't even care about you enough to even remember your birthday. That thing affects a lot of things. People are complaining that, oh, men, side chick, side chick. A lot of men, the reason why they have side chick sometimes maybe because the person they are with don't care about them, and they've seen it that this person doesn't care about them. So that may be why I'm not saying this is a good reason, but it can be part of it. It can be part of it. Maybe the person you're with doesn't even listen to you, doesn't even care about your opinion on issues, or doesn't even follow your lead when they are supposed to. So why I'm saying this is that this thing is an issue that needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about because when we are raising young men who don't know how to solve problems, when we are raising young men who are continually being thrown into a war they are not prepared for, and when we are in Africa whereby the situations are always changing, things are always getting worse, things are getting tougher, then we have to talk about the challenges men face. Because if we don't talk about it, not only are men going to be harmed, but those who are around men are going to be harmed too. You know, the wives are going to be harmed, the wives are going to be harmed, the young ladies are going to be harmed, the young boys are going to be harmed, people in the community are going to be harmed. So I believe that, and what I'm trying to do with this talk is to create an avenue, where men can share the challenges that they go through, share it in a safe place and share it either with a psychologist or with the person that they love or with anybody that they trust, so that they can get help. Some men are going through mental health issues, they have nobody to talk to, and the more they don't talk about it, the worse it gets. And the worse it gets, the more it impairs the decisions they make, and at the end of the day, it affects the whole family. So the whole point of this is to create that avenue where men can talk about their problems, where they feel safe and they can get help for those problems. Because right now in Nigeria, men, a lot of men are feeling pressure. It's like there's this pressure to perform, pressure to meet ridiculous demands. So that's just what I want to talk about this. So I hope you watch this and you learn one or two things. You understand that if you're a man, the challenges you are facing, it's okay for you to share your emotions with people that you know that really care about you. Don't feel that, oh, don't feel like I'm a credible hawk or I'm commando. I have to handle all my problems myself. No, you don't have to. There are some people that can help you. So on that note, I'm out. Have a great day, and I hope this you share this video and this meets somebody in their time of need. On that note, I'm out. Bye.